next topic of the conversation right here, and it goes to the cornerback room. Alabama, Nick Saban has found its guy to replace Carl Scott at that position, and that being one Jay Valai. Jay Valai, a native of Dallas, Texas. Well, he's from Euless, Texas, which is a suburb of Dallas, but a native Texan. So the one thing that you as Alabama football fans, you wanted was to replace Carl Scott. Could we get somebody from the Texas area to hold that state in recruiting? Enter Jay Valai into the conversation. Now, he posted a tweet on his social media last week confirming the fact that he is coming to the Crimson Tide. He is coming to Alabama. He is taking over the cornerbacks position here at the program. And when this idea was first brought up, or when this tweet was first made, to me, I was kind of like you. I was kind of like you guys. I'm thinking, what? Like, this guy doesn't have a whole bunch of experience. I don't know about this guy. I'm not sure. Like, this is not Jason Jones. Like, there were 9 guys that I was given a list on, and of the 9 guys, 5 of them had Alabama ties. In discussing Azar Abdul-Rahim, Derek Ansley, Deshae Towson, Sam Petito, and Jason Jones. Like, this name, Jay Valai, like, it's not hitting the way I thought it would hit. But as I went back to actually do some more research, as I went back to actually dissect and go through some things and crunch some numbers, in my mind, I kind of hit on, okay, even though I may not be feeling what Saban's doing, I can understand why he made the move, right? Because Saban is at a point here in his career where he looks at 3 different things. Saban is at a point right now in his coaching career, he's looking at 3 different things. Number 1, he wants to hire a coach that can foster continuity within the program. By continuity, I'm referring to at least 3 years, 3 to 5 to 6 years, but at least 3 years, that continuity. And as much as Jason Jones would have made a lot of sense, his recent stop was at Indiana, and he's got a wealth of experience coaching corners. If you would have brought Jason Jones in and he would have had a big first year because of how big his name is on the coaching circuit, the poachers would have probably came in after his first year or after his second year and picked him on out of here, and then Saban's back at the drawing board again. So rather than experience that, I think in Saban's mind, he's going through, okay, as much as Jones has experience, if I can get Valai in here, who his name not as big, there's not a lot of cachet to him. He doesn't have just a ton of experience. He has some experience. He has gotten his feet wet, but he doesn't have the big, broad experience. Maybe we can bring him in here. We can coach him up. We can develop him. We can fine-tune him. He can help us build this continuity, and we can have somebody here for a good period of time. It's just like what happened with Carl Scott. Carl Scott went through all the small schools first before going to Texas Tech, before going to Alabama. The same thing with Pete Golding. Pete Golding started off at the small schools first before, of course, now he is at the Crimson Tide going into his 4th year. So number 1, Saban looks at trying to build continuity. Number 2, Saban looks at you gotta be an exceptional recruiter. And Coach Valai, he's in his early to mid-30s, so he's young, he's fiery, he's enthusiastic, he's energetic, he can speak the language of these young men, he knows what these guys are talking about or conversating on. He's coached at the NFL level where these young players are trying to get to. He's coached some at the collegiate level, so he's got that energy, he's got that zeal, he's got that passion, and you get that on the recruiting trail. That can do a lot of big things for you. And then the third thing Saban looks at is, can we bring in a coach that's got a footprint in the SEC? You're recruiting SEC caliber players, SEC caliber talent. So can we bring in a coach that's got a footprint within the conference, and Coach Valai, he does. 2016 and 2017, he was the defensive quality control coach for the Georgia Bulldogs on Kirby Smart's staff. 2017, he helped the defense that gave up just 16.4 points per game. It only allowed a 40-point contest to two of its opponents that season. Georgia that year won the SEC, got to the college football playoff, won the Rose Bowl against Oklahoma, a thrilling Rose Bowl that being, and advanced to the national championship game despite a loss there to Alabama. Now, as we look at Valai's background here for a minute, like I said, he's from Dallas, Texas, Euless, Texas, little suburb of Dallas. He played at the University of Wisconsin, played safety from 2007 to 2010. Was a two-time second team All-Big Ten 2008 and 2009. He gave the NFL a shot. I mean, he was accepted to a mini camp with the Minnesota Vikings. Things, unfortunately, did not materialize for him. But for a 6-year period, he took a break from football. He was not playing. He was not coaching. He instead operated his own sports performance training facility from 2011 to 2016, working with pro athletes in the NFL and NBA along with high school students. So he did that for 5 to 6 years. And then college football came calling him, was the quality control coach at Georgia 2016 and 17, spent a year with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2018 as an assistant DB coach and quality control guy. The Chiefs went 14-2 that year, got to the AFC Championship game where it lost to Tom Brady and the New England Patriots at that point in time. The Chiefs would ultimately win the Super Bowl the next season. But 2019, of course, Valai got back in the college ball, coached a year at Rutgers as a cornerbacks coach. Then 2020, he went to Texas to coach corners for the Longhorns. He accepted the cornerbacks job on December 20th of this year at the University of Houston. He stayed there long enough to sip a cup of coffee, and then 12 days later, he gets called by the Philadelphia Eagles to be a coach there on February the 1st. So he goes to Philly, and here comes the power of Nick Saban. Saban says, you know what? Let me pull a coach in here. So Saban makes the call to Coach Valai, and he leaves the Eagles after a sip of water to come to Alabama. So he's kind of been on different staffs here the last couple of years or so, but it's Alabama that gets the guy. It's Alabama that makes the move to pull him. So he's got some experience coaching college ball. He's got some experience coaching the NFL. I know at first, just for me, seeing this hire across my ticker, across my board, I'm like, what in the Sam Hill? What is this? But, as I myself had to step back from the computer a little bit, draw into my research, draw into my thesis, I go, now I see why Coach Saban made the hire. He's a young guy. You're trying to foster continuity on the staff. You're trying to get a young recruiter in here. You're trying to get somebody that has that pull with the state of Texas, which he does. You got somebody that has an imprint, a footprint on the SEC. And then most importantly, you got somebody that has not only played the game, but he does have experience, and he can relate to the Malachi Morris. He can relate to the Josh Jobs, the Marcus Banks, the Kyrie Jacksons, the Ronald Williams Jr.'s, and other defensive backs, in particular cornerbacks on the roster here for the Crimson Tide. So even though Bama fans, there were other names that were targeted here in this search, including 5 with Alabama ties, Coach Saban, in his power of being the best in the game, he pulls another NFL assistant away from pro ball and brings this guy to Alabama. So now the Tide has Bill O'Brien, Doug Marrone, and Jay Valai. I mean, this is crazy. You pull 3 NFL coaches back into college ball, 2 of them former head coaches, and 1 of them was a former head coach / GM. So it just shows you the mind and the magnitude of Coach Saban. Thank you for watching Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel. To continue to get the best in Alabama football content, subscribe here and turn on your notifications to stay connected with the hottest shows covering your Crimson Tide.